Hello and welcome to Wisdom Bites. Hope you're well. Thank you once again for joining us. Very much appreciated. And in today's video, I'm just going to focus on the Bitcoin miners and the portfolio that we started a couple of weeks ago. So I'm going to have a look at the close of prices yesterday and how that reflects on the Bitcoin miners portfolio. I'm also going to be having a look at some psychological aspects of trading and investing in these markets. So if that sounds interesting, then without further ado, get yourself a cup of tea, sit yourself down, eyes on the screen, and let's get cracking. Before I start, the usual polite reminder, please remember everything in my videos is just for educational purposes, so please do your wider research before you make any investment decisions. So with that out of the way, I'm going to start off with the close of prices yesterday for the Bitcoin miners that we have in our Bitcoin portfolio. As you can see on the right hand side, these are the percentage increases that we had at the close of play yesterday. And so apart from a couple of laggards here, we had very much a very good green day. And the highlights really were TeraWulf at 15.9%, Core Scientific, which is under Chapter 11, closed at 22.09% up, Hut8 went up 16%, Bit Digital went up 18%, and DigiHost went up 26%. And some of the main miners like Marathon were up nearly 9%, Riot nearly 6.5%, etc. And you can see all the numbers here. So how does this actually translate into where we are in the portfolio? Remember, we chose 8 companies out of all these, that these were the ones that were going to actually survive this crypto winter and actually get to the other side of the bull market and lead us to this target that we have of $1 million with a starting capital of $100,000. So these prices over here translated into this update now, and they're all in profit. All the 8 companies we've chosen so far are really up in a very healthy way at the moment, varying from Bitfarms, which is up 115% in less than 2 weeks, all the way down to Mawson and CleanSpark, which are lagging behind at around about 24%, but they're still up quite a lot for a period of 2 weeks. So currently we're around about the 67%. I've rounded this off actually, so these came to like 98.5 and 72.3, etc., etc. So really, when you look at the exact figure, it's up 171,000. So our £100,000 starting capital is now running at 171,000 after just 2 weeks. So we'll see how far we get with this by the end of 2023. Can we meet our $1 million target? So we're well on our way here. Obviously, I'm expecting some sort of a pullback sometime between now and when Bitcoin reaches 25,000. So these figures will vary, but I think the trajectory on the whole, the trend is actually to the upside. And I'm quite confident that we'll meet our $1 million target by the end of 2023. Okay, moving on to the charts. We'll start off with Marathon on the weekly chart. Marathon got into mining around this time here, around July 2020. And this is how it actually panned out in the last bull market, by going to a high of around about $84. And unfortunately, after topping out at $84, this is what it's done, which is absolutely the replica of the Bitcoin chart. But as you can see here, we bottomed out at $3.11, and since then we've gone up from $3.11 to the current price of around about $8.37, about 170% in the space of about 3 weeks here. And when I was looking at the charts, I could see that this was a bottoming out pattern in relation to what was happening on the wider markets with Bitcoin. And so this is where our portfolio started here, and we've been able to take advantage of this increase in the last week or so. So the question on everybody's lips is, how far can Marathon go in this bull market? Well, to be perfectly honest, it's anybody's guess. But if we were just to get back to the $84 mark here, then from current prices at $8.37, that would be around about an 800% markup. The thing we must be mindful of is that Marathon only started operations around here back in July 2020, and by the time we went to $84, it was producing anywhere between 200 and 400 Bitcoins. But now it's obviously a much bigger company with many more Bitcoins. And as you can see with Marathon, at the beginning of 2021, they were only mining around about 50. And by the end of that year, they were mining about 485. And the total for 2021 was 3,193. However, as you can see, from January 2022, they had quite a lot of issues during the year, but still managed to produce just over 3,500 Bitcoins. And in the midst of all that, they are currently holding 12,232. about 3,500 of those were actually bought at around about the $30,000 mark. But they've certainly got the biggest holding in custody of the Bitcoins amongst all the Bitcoin miners. Obviously, it's a much bigger company with a lot more assets and mining a lot more now than they were previously. And they do have plans to actually increase their Bitcoin mining in the next few months to try and get to around about 23 exahash. So that's about just over 3 times the exahash which they've got currently. So I would expect this figure to be 3 times as much. So from 475, and I think the highest number of Bitcoins they produced was in October at 615, which more closely reflects the 7 exahash of mining. So that means that they should really be producing just under 2,000 Bitcoins per month, which, as you can see from our historical table here, that would be far, far more than what they have done in the past. So coming back to our charts, we can see that we are currently with Marathon a much different company than when they first started back in July. So the question now is, would they get above the $84 mark? Your guess is as good as mine. All I would say is that certainly somewhere along the line it's going to be reflected in the charts. And my own expectation is, and please remember this is just my expectation, this is not financial advice, and always remember these Bitcoin miners are an extremely risky play, but they are high risk, but they're also high reward. But I would say that this year in 2023 we should really get back when you recognize that all these miners are a leverage play on the Bitcoin. So if Bitcoin goes to 40, 50,000, from the bottom, that would represent, let's say it goes to around about 48,000, that would represent a 3x. So if Bitcoin goes up 3 times, the miners go up by at least around about 3, 4, even 5 times as much as that. And hence, that brings me to the price at around about the $84 by the end of 2023. If not sooner. And certainly, Marathon along with Cypher are the 2 fastest horses I think are going to get much, much further than the rest of them. Obviously, time will tell whether they do, but so far, the one horse that's in front is the Bitfarms. They're up by 115%, but the 2 that I've chosen are in number 2 and number 3 position at the moment, with 98% and 72% respectively. The other one I'm looking at here is the Cypher Mining. As you can see, just like all the Bitcoin miners, they've been absolutely battered. This company came on the NASDAQ towards the end of 2021 at around about $15 here. And since then, it's basically been a waterfall all the way down to the current prices, culminating in the bottom over here at around about 38 cents here. I have to say that when I saw this candle here, that was the time when I actually got in around these levels here. So my average price is around about just under 50 cents. So I picked them there when I saw this long wick at the bottom of the trend. As you can see from its bottom here, it's been as high as about 260%, and currently at today's prices, it's around about 194%. So I'm expecting this to go much, much further. Once again, I would expect an end of 2023 price or sooner to reach at least $15 over here. So that would give us around about a 15x from current prices. Now, just going back to the Marathon, you can see quite clearly here that there are certain points where you would expect, with a higher degree of probability, to have some resting place in terms of a correction and pullback along the way. And the first natural place is over here at around about the $15 mark. And then the second one, I would expect around about the $18 mark here. So they are in quick succession, but that's exactly what happened here. It may not happen at either of them, please remember that. We're only contemplating that based on the charts here. Many times, Bitcoin and the Bitcoin miners will actually trap you into thinking that it's going to correct over here, and the price, instead of doing this and then going back up again, will just barge through and may not even stop here where you would expect another correction, but instead it would just go straight up without much of a correction over here. So always be mindful of that, and that is the reason why we must always look at the wider time frame charts, just to have a look at if there are any doji candles, any certain candlestick patterns that are telling us a different narrative than the one that we've actually created in our own minds based on the charts here. So it's always very, very good to just be open-minded and see exactly what's happening before you make any decisions to take profits at any of these levels. And as you can see, the next natural place would be this level here at around about $32. And if we stretch that all the way there, you can see quite clearly why that would be the case. We've had a lot of resistance here, a lot of support and resistance here. and a very strong resistance here before the market tumbled down here. So 32 is a very, very high degree of probability correction level that I would be looking at to take something off the table. And even this level here at around about 57, when we first came and topped out before the big pullback down here, that would be another level here. So these are the 4 or 5 levels that I'm looking at with Marathon. So we'll keep monitoring this portfolio and see whether we get to our 1 million target by the end of this year. I'm quite confident that we'll make 1 million well before the end of this year. So let's see what happens. Only time will tell. Please remember, I don't even know what I'm going to have for lunch today. So anything can happen. I'm just looking at the charts and making some sort of an insight based on just my knowledge. And please remember that everybody who does YouTube videos, they have just limited knowledge of what they know. Nobody knows everything and nobody can predict the future. And certainly I don't have a crystal ball. But what I do know is that I have a lot of experience looking at charts. And if you've been following me long enough, you'll know that on the whole, much of my narrative has come to fruition in a positive way. So I'll leave the judgment to yourself. But this is what I'm expecting, probably around about £1 million before the end of 2023 on this portfolio. Okay, just a quick word about revenge trading. And unfortunately, no matter what people do, every bear market and every bull market, the psychology is always the same. At the bottom of bear markets, just like over here, what we have is a certain psychology develops when the market is coming down. And we are always expecting, because we've had all these disappointments down here, every time it goes up, it comes back down. Every time it goes up, it comes back down. Every time it goes up, it comes back down. So now everybody thinks that, oh, it's gone up and it's going to come down. And we are creatures of patterns. We are creatures of habits. And we are creatures of our recent experiences. And this is our experience. So you can forgive people for thinking that this is now going to come back down. And this is the quality of this market. This is the characteristic of this market, that this is what it makes people do. So when we come down to these levels here, because of what's happened in the last 12 months, everybody is thinking, oh, it's going to go further down. And the sad thing about this is that even if it did go down to 12,000, people would be thinking 9,000. And if it went to 9,000, they'd be thinking 7,000. And if it went to 7,000, they'd be thinking 3,000. So at no point do those people who are thinking like that ever get on the train, because they're forever thinking by default of exactly what's happened in the last 12 months. By default, they'll be thinking it's going to go lower and lower and lower until this happens. They get totally caught out with their pants down. And so when we get to a point where we are currently here, people become very stubborn, say, no, this is what's happened in the past. It's come down like this. Every time it goes up, it comes down. Well, there's going to be a time when it won't come down. Obviously, it can come down. Nobody knows the future. It can't do this exactly. But knowing what we know, that the end of the bear market occurs with certain qualities and characteristics which I've had a look at over the last many weeks and months in the videos, this looks highly probably likely that we're going to be going up rather than down. And always remember, when you see a trend as strong as this, you would be going in front of a very fast moving train if you did the opposite over here. You're going to get run down. And so what happens is that those who missed this part of the rally that we've just had, their anger and frustration at losing out on this, that because they think that the market is going to come down, they thought that what we lost over here, we're going to short here and make it up by coming down. And unfortunately, the market has a way of punishing those people by doing exactly the opposite of that. And the thing is that as it goes up, those people who are shorting without any stop losses especially, then those people will be wanting to give it wriggle room to come back down at these levels as it goes higher and higher. And unfortunately, the market is relentless in punishing bad investors, and this is what's going to happen. So all I would say is please be careful. I can only tell you what I would do, and I would not be shorting here. I would not be shorting anywhere. I do not do shorting. Shorting is one of the most dangerous things you can do in this market. But this is not financial advice. Everybody has their own level of risk and reward, and for me, I would not do shorting. The sad truth is that everybody I know, they've all missed on this. I've been warning everybody that this is what it's likely to happen. And the sad truth is that not one of them has actually climbed on board on this here. Now they're feeling very frustrated and they feel they've been left out of this big move here. having ridden all the way down in the bear market for 12 months. So I get asked, what would you do? And of course, I can't give anybody financial advice. I will only suggest exactly what I would do. And if I had missed this point here, then I would simply just get back on board here and not miss all the rest of it. Yes, we can have a pullback here. Can anybody guarantee that we're going to have a pullback here? Yes, it's a main level, as I've said many times in many of my videos and on my Twitter. These are the levels here, 25. So these are the levels I've been mentioning, 21.4. Look exactly at 21.4, that's what's happened. When this market was coming up to 18.2, I said keep a lookout for this, we're going to get a rejection. It's exactly what happened here. And as we were going up here, I said there's a trap here at 18.3. So all these levels are absolutely key. You know, I'm not the only one who knows these levels. If you watch enough YouTube videos, you'll know that for most YouTubers who know what's happening in the charts, they'll highlight these levels because they're quite obvious here. So this is the first one we've got to at 21.4. The next one is at 22.8. And the next one is at 25. So one of them, we're going to have a correction with a higher degree of probability. So those people who think that we're going to have a correction here, well, good luck to that, because nobody really knows. Yes, it seems like a very good point to have a correction because it's a big resistance point here. However, knowing the momentum of this market here, and this is with a huge amount of volume. So this is not just a markup, this is with proper good volume here. If you look at the volumes here, it's quite low compared to what's happened just now recently. There's a big pickup in the volume. So you have to make the trend your friend, and with the volume creating this momentum, then the higher degree of probability trade would be that we are more likely to go higher rather than lower. So this would be the next level at 22,800, and then we'd have to check what the candlesticks are doing, look at the volume, look at the demand, what's happening in the wider market, to ascertain whether we're going to go much further than this to the next level at 25,200. Thinking of doing revenge trading, all I would say is think carefully. At the end of the day, people are going to do what they're going to do, and that's fine. Maybe that's a lesson for them to learn from that. Okay, finally, a look at the 60-day cycle here. We're currently on day 19 of this current 60-day cycle, which ends on the 28th of February. And the midpoint of it is at 29th of January. So we've still got quite a bit into the mid-cycle, and we expect a right translated cycle here. So I would expect, with a higher degree of probability, for it to move anywhere to this level or to this level in the next 10 to 20 days from now. And if we come to some resistance anywhere at those 2 points here, then we would expect a correction back either to the 21 level or even to the 18.3 level. So we'll see how things develop with the candlestick patterns and the price action. Okay, so we'll leave it there. Thank you once again for watching. If you found value in the video, then please do remember to like and subscribe and to turn on the notification bell. If you have any comments, questions or suggestions, leave them in the comments below. Until the next time, take care, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.